Imagine a quiet attic in Nazi-occupied Amsterdam, a family in hiding, a girl writing a diary that would echo through history. Then silence. The doors kicked in. Arrest. For over 80 years, one question has haunted us. Who betrayed Anne Frank? Despite decades of research, the truth remains elusive. Was it someone close, or a tragic stroke of chance? In this video, we dive into the latest evidence, leading theories, and the lingering mystery behind one of World War II's most heartbreaking cold cases. The raid that changed history. On the morning of August 4, 1944, German SS officer Karl Silberbauer led a raid on the concealed upper floors of 263 Prinsengracht in Amsterdam. It was a location well hidden behind a movable bookcase, housing 8 Jewish people who had been in hiding for over 2 years. Among them was Anne Frank, whose diary would later become one of the most powerful literary accounts of life under Nazi persecution. The arrest marked the end of their hiding and the beginning of a tragic chain of events that led to the deaths of all but one, Anne's father, Otto Frank. But here's where things become less clear. How did the Nazis discover the secret annex? Was someone tipped off? Did the wrong person say the wrong thing? For decades, the prevailing theory was that the Franks were betrayed by an informant, possibly someone working in or around the building. But in recent years, this long-standing assumption has been challenged by new evidence and a shift in scholarly thinking. A theory turned upside down. No betrayal. At all. In 2016, the Anne Frank house released a surprising theory. They suggested the raid might not have been the result of betrayal at all. According to their updated analysis, the police could have been investigating unrelated activities, such as illegal labor or ration card fraud, on the premises. The hiding place could have been discovered entirely by accident during a routine check. This theory was built upon historical documents showing that the arresting officers were working on cases unrelated to tracking down hidden Jews that day. The museum emphasized that while betrayal could not be ruled out, it should no longer be considered the only explanation. It was a bold pivot from the idea that betrayal was a given, opening the door to a more complex and uncertain picture of events. Otto Frank's suspect. Despite the recent theories suggesting otherwise, Otto Frank believed someone had betrayed them. One of his earliest suspicions fell on Willem van Maren, a warehouse worker in the building below the annex. Van Maren had raised eyebrows for his nosiness and peculiar behavior. He was known to be inquisitive about the annex and allegedly suspected that people were hiding upstairs. Otto's mistrust was so strong that he filed an official complaint with Dutch police in 1947. However, after a thorough investigation, authorities concluded there was no evidence to support the claim. Van Maren was cleared of wrongdoing, but suspicion lingered for decades, especially among those who believed betrayal from within the building was the only plausible explanation. The shadow of Ans van Dijk. Another controversial figure in this tragic saga is Ans van Dijk, a Dutch Jewish woman who collaborated with the Nazis after being arrested herself. Van Dijk reportedly betrayed hundreds of fellow Jews, luring many into traps with false promises of safety. Her name often comes up in discussions of the Frank betrayal because she was known to have been active in the area around the annex. Some researchers theorized that she might have tipped off the Nazis, whether knowingly or as part of broader cooperation with the Sicherheitsdienst. However, there has never been direct evidence linking her to the Frank family's arrest. Like Van Maren, she remains a figure of speculation, dangerous but ultimately not proven guilty in this specific case. The 2022 cold case team and Arnold van den Berg. Then came the bombshell of 2022. A team of Dutch researchers and international experts, including retired FBI agent Vincent Pankocke, launched a 6-year investigation into the mystery. Using modern forensic tools, artificial intelligence, and thousands of documents, they claim to have finally found the most likely culprit, Arnold van den Berg, a Jewish notary and member of Amsterdam's Jewish Council during the Nazi occupation. The team's case hinged on an anonymous note sent to Otto Frank shortly after the war. The letter claimed that van den Berg had provided the Nazis with lists of Jewish addresses in exchange for protection. According to the team, van den Berg had access to confidential information and may have given up the location of the annex to save his own family. The story shocked the world, not just for its implications, but for the emotional weight of accusing a fellow Jew of betraying one of history's most beloved Holocaust victims. However, almost immediately, the theory ran into trouble. Historians and Jewish organizations criticized the report for lacking solid evidence. Much of the theory was circumstantial and based on a vague memory from a Nazi collaborator decades after the war. The anonymous note had no proven origin, and most importantly, there was no evidence that van den Bergh actually possessed lists of hiding places. The Anne Frank house, while grateful for the renewed interest in the case, refused to endorse the cold case team's conclusion. In fact, after widespread backlash, the Dutch publisher of the team's book pulled it from shelves, and the researchers were forced to walk back some of their strongest claims. It was a dramatic twist, but it only added more fog to an already murky picture. What the Anne Frank house believes today. The Anne Frank house remains the most respected authority on the subject, and their position is clear. We may never know for certain what happened. Their current view is that multiple explanations remain possible, and the idea of betrayal should not be the default assumption. They urge caution in naming suspects without conclusive evidence. In the absence of a smoking gun, the museum encourages ongoing research, but also stresses the importance of remembering Anne's story as one of courage, not conspiracy. Sorting through the suspects. Over the years, several names have come and gone as suspects. In addition to Van Maren and van den Bergh, there were accusations leveled against Tony Allers, a known Nazi sympathizer, and even minor characters like cleaners or delivery workers. But none of these theories have stood up to serious scrutiny. The evidence is always the same: thin, circumstantial, and open to interpretation. The only consistent fact is that 8 people were arrested that day, and the reasons for the raid remain uncertain. Some historians believe the debate has gone too far, risking the legacy of the Frank family for the sake of speculation. Others argue that seeking the truth is essential, even if it means confronting uncomfortable possibilities. Either way, the pursuit of answers reflects our enduring desire to make sense of a senseless tragedy. The tragic irony of historical memory. If this were a detective novel, we'd end with a twist. The betrayer is revealed, justice is served, and the mystery is solved. But this is real life, and history, unlike fiction, is often unsatisfying. The true irony is that we may be searching for a villain where there is none. The raid could have been an accident, the product of bureaucracy, coincidence, or sheer bad luck. And if so, the years of suspicion cast upon friends, co-workers, and fellow Jews might have been tragically misplaced. This doesn't make the question less important. In fact, it makes it more powerful. Because in seeking to understand who betrayed Anne Frank, we are really asking a broader question. How does evil work? Is it loud and obvious, or is it silent, creeping in through paperwork and procedure? The story of Anne Frank is not just about one girl and one diary. It's about how entire societies can be complicit in horror without ever pulling a trigger. And there you have it, the haunting mystery of who betrayed Anne Frank. Still unanswered, still debated, and still deeply personal. Hit that like button to show your support and smash subscribe.